Welcome to Happy Hour with Haley. I'm Haley Chura, and this week I am joined by a surprise returning co-host, Shelly Anderson. Welcome back to the show, Shelly.
Thank you so much for having me back. I can't believe I'm back for a second podcast, but here I am.
I'm so thankful that you're back. I thought I was going to have to do this show solo this week. If our listeners haven't listened to our Run Disney episode, I do think it was a fantastic one, and I'm so proud of us still for pulling that off. Shelly is one of my oldest friends. She swam at Clemson and has introduced me to the Disney races. And so this last January, we raced the Dopey Challenge together, 5K, 10K, half marathon, and marathon. And to add to that challenge, we decided to podcast from the hotel room after the half marathon, and it was a challenge. It was a challenge, but I'm so proud to have that episode out now. So if you haven't listened to that one, great one to hear more about Shelly and hear about our experience there. But I'm so thankful you could fill in this week because one, last time we talked at Disney, I think it was before the marathon. So you ran a marathon the next day. How did that go?
I did. It went really well. After the first 3 days of racing the Dopey Challenge, I didn't really have any goals other than to kind of start out slow and, pick it up if I felt good in the later miles. And I did pick it up a little bit, but I will say it was is mostly an easy jog walk to the finish line. But it was, I think, my fastest marathon finish regardless. And I felt good the whole time. I finished strong. I think my last miles were my fastest, and which says a lot about, the training that you gave me to get me ready for that after all the other miles of racing, as well as, all the time on feet in the park. So I was really happy with it. And it was a beautiful day. I know people were concerned it was going to be too hot, but it actually felt pretty mild to me in the end. And just really enjoyed being out there on the day, and, enjoyed the finish line for sure.
And you're someone who said that you don't aspire to run any marathon other than the Disney Marathon, which I think is unique. Why is that?
It's just once you run a Disney race and then you go back to a normal race and you're wondering where all the characters are, where the entertainment is. And, there's just so much joy at a Run Disney starting line throughout the race and the finish line. You never feel more celebrated than after you've crossed a Disney race finish line, whether it's the people handing out the medals, the people handing out the snacks and the Powerade, the people at the hotel when you get back to the hotel off the buses, the people on the buses, and just the opportunity to meet so many other people from different parts of the country. And it's just, and then there's the small feature of the race starts at 4:30 in the morning.
You love an early start.
Yes. So, I just, the whole ethos of it is really what keeps me coming back. And I think I would find a different marathon just a little bit underwhelming, perhaps. So
Did you have a favorite part of this marathon? What was your, like, running through a certain area? Did you have a favorite part?
that's a really good question. I do like the boardwalk. I know that's outside of a park, so that's a little bit unusual, but I love the boardwalk,
That's
and
near the
I have a
end,
memory.
right? For the marathon?
It is. Yeah,
Okay.
basically mile 24, 25. I think you hit mile 25 right after the boardwalk. But I have a wonderful memory of seeing my husband Mark right after the boardwalk last year during the marathon, because he did the half marathon and then spectated the marathon. So I had that memory. And then you're also just getting close to the finish line. You just have to get through Epcot. I don't know. There's a lot of spectators out on the boardwalk. It's just a wonderful time in the race. So I'll
Do
say
they, like,
that.
quiet spectate on the boardwalk? Is it because there's, like, hotels? I felt like people were, like, quiet spectating. Are they loud? Did I just miss it? I just felt like they were, like, cheering quietly.
I think maybe when you went through, I think maybe when you go
Maybe
through and
that's
people are still sleeping, but by the time I got there, I think there were loud cheering.
it's
There was loud
like
cheering.
I just feel like it was, like, they were, like, doing pom-poms with, like, no cheers, but maybe there is, like, a quiet time or quiet hours. I don't know. It is nice, and it's kind of I kinda like how it's, like, a little bit bouncy, just different running surface. Um my favorite part of this year's Disney Marathon, I was, like, very surprised by, like, the Star Wars area. Before you go into Animal Kingdom, there was, like, a Star Wars, I don't know what you call it, corridor, where it was like you were, in like a fight, I guess, and they had like all the like laser beams going across and like smoke, and then they had Darth Vader was there, and I that was like the one time or one of the two times I wished I had my phone because I was like, oh my gosh, I want to film this. It was just so cool.
That is really cool. And honestly, I know there's a lot of disadvantages for you going through the park so quickly at your speed of running because you can't necessarily maybe ride any of the rides since the parks aren't open. But you had an advantage on that one because it was still dark when you were running through, whereas I think the sun had just come up for me when I went through that area. So it was very
Oh.
cool, but maybe not quite as cool with the lasers in the daylight versus the dark. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think of that. Okay, so that is I mean, there's something for everything and there everyone, and there is something different about different times of day because if you run a little later in the day, you can ride the rides because when I went through the rides were closed, but I get the darkness for the laser show. So,
Exactly.
Disney does think about everything and the experience coming from different angles. Definitely, admiration of Disney. But after that, you teased this last time. After that race, I think it was 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, you took your family to Disneyland for the Disneyland races. How did that go?
Oh, it was just so heartwarming to do the races with my kids and with my husband, Mark. The 5K, I was a little bit concerned about it because my older son is a little bit more on the competitive side. And for those people who don't know, the 5K is untimed. So he still ran pretty fast, even though it was untimed, with no watch. So just for pride purposes. So he and Mark ran together, and I ran with my younger son, Chase. And it was sort of a Disney fartlek. We stopped for all the photo ops, and then we kind of sprinted in between. So I had that experience for the first time, which was really fun. And we dressed as, I think I might have mentioned this on the previous podcast, but we dressed as Mighty Ducks players. And we got so many cheers, being that that's the home team in Anaheim. So that was another great experience. And the 5K starts in the park at the castle, which is unique to the Disneyland
Wow.
5K, which was a really cool experience. Um, so just a wonderful race experience to do with my kids, and they really enjoyed the Disneyland rides. And then on Saturday, my husband Mark ran the 10K, and he enjoyed that because it's mainly in the parks, the 10K. And then on Sunday, I ran the half marathon with a friend of mine, Hannah, your sister, and that was also fun. We got to see each other on the course a couple times because we were fairly close to one another, and yeah, it was a great weekend.
And that was the last Disneyland race for a while. The Disney World races will continue, but Disneyland is doing some construction, prepping for the Olympics, the area around there, so they will not be hosting a race for the next couple years. Was there some nostalgia, some feeling of sadness with that? Could you tell? Because online, I could definitely tell.
Definitely. The way Carissa Galloway, the announcer, was speaking about the race, it almost made it feel like perhaps she had inside knowledge that they're not coming back at all, or if not,
Oh.
or if they are coming back, it's not for quite a long time. And they had a big celebration for the final finisher, which I think is typical of Run Disney races, but I think this one was especially emotional because I think even if the races do come back, it may be many years before that happens. And so it was really fun to be there and special to be there for that. Last one for a while.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to be there. Cheers to those Disney races.
Yeah,
And
cheers.
this is Happy Hour with Haley. We like to bring a beverage, and you brought a beverage. I'll do mine first because,
Okay.
well, mine is a preview of the thing. I had intended to have a beer for this, but then my sweet mother had left this on my counter. Health Aid kombucha. It's like a mango lemonade kombucha, and to be perfectly honest, I need a health aid right now more than I probably need a beer. So we are gonna go with health aid kombucha today. But what is your drink?
I have a Passion on Ponce IPA, a local IPA, and a Publix Atlanta
Is
Marathon
that a
glass because the
frosted
Publix
glass?
Atlanta half marathon is coming up. Yes. I'm a high maintenance beer drinker on Sunday afternoon.
I love it.
So the Publix half marathon is our local half marathon, and it's coming up this Sunday. And Mark and I are participating for the sixth or seventh time, and it's also serving as I think the USATF half marathon national championship. So there'll be some professional runners in town. And just looking forward to, getting out on a familiar course, even if they tweak it a little bit, it's generally the same. And my friend Dora usually meets me in the middle for a few miles, which is always fun to look forward to, a nice little carrot to look forward to in the middle of the race. And just really looking forward to that.
I love the hometown race, and that's a race I have run many times. It's a great one, so I hope you really enjoy that. And so, cheers to Publix, cheers
Cheers.
to Disney, and we will go on to why I need health
Yes.
aid. So, surprise, surprise! I actually raced yesterday. I don't know if I'd call it racing. I did a running event yesterday, is what I would call it, and I didn't tell a lot of people about this because it was a running event and I just wanted it for myself a little bit. And so Friday evening I flew to Vegas and I participated in the Jackpot Ultras, which if people aren't familiar, it's in Vegas, there's a race and it's like either a 1 mile or 2 mile loop. And there's a bunch of different races that happened. A lot of people probably heard about Ashley Paulson breaking the world record for women in the 100-mile race. I think she ran like 12:15. You might know better than me.
Amazing.
That was on Friday. That was not the race I did, but that was on Friday. They had a USATF 100-miler that was like sanctioned, so you go after records. And Ashley is a woman who raced Ironman as a professional previously. So she also ran in the Olympic marathon trials and she had raced over 100 miles before. I think she has like maybe the course record of Badwater. I should know more, but again, I came into this a little unprepared, but it was like 7:20 pace for 100 miles. Like, and that includes stops. I mean, it's so fast, so
Incredible.
fast. So I was not nearly as impressive. I raced on Saturday and I had actually signed up for the 100 miler. I did this very last minute. I never necessarily intended to run 100 miles. It was you and I chatted the morning of because I was like, I don't think I should even do this at all. But it gave me an option to run 100 miles. I don't know if that's the right ethos to have, but I wanted to see how far I could run. And so I gave myself the option to run as far as I could, on that day. I ended up running 50 miles. After
It's
50,
amazing.
I decided I had gotten what I needed out of that race. And I think I just needed to have something. We've had a really unseasonably warm winter here in Montana. I have been running a lot. I thought that just having something for myself was kind of nice. I didn't want to make a big deal that I was like, "Oh, I'm going to go run 100 miles" because I didn't know. I didn't think I could do 100 miles, and I learned I definitely can't do 100 miles. But I made it to 50, which is my longest run ever. And it was much harder than I expected, to be honest. I think my time was around like 7:20, 7 hours and 20 minutes for 50 miles. And again, how this race worked was it's a 2 mile lap, a 2 mile loop, and there are people running a 50K, a 50 miler, a 100K, a 100 miler, a 6 hour race, 12-hour race, 48-hour race. I think you could start the 100 miler on Friday and you had 48 hours to finish it on Saturday. So there's a ton of people on the course and everyone is doing their own thing. So it's not necessarily like a race. I mean, there's definitely people racing. Like I was getting lapped by some of the 50 milers who started like 30 minutes behind me. And then there's a lot of people who are walking, and there's a shocking number of like 80-year-olds, which was so inspiring. Again, these people had started on Friday and were still going like midday Saturday. They're walking with poles. And Transon, who's you just read Born to Run.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say her name right, Ann Treason, but she won Western States like 17 times. She was out there with a walker and doing this event, this race, and it was so inspiring. I mean, she definitely like has an entourage around her, and she has, I think, rheumatoid arthritis, if I've read that correctly, and so still wants to be a part of the ultra community, and they still make a big deal about her. And I mean, just to be out there for several days walking with a walker is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And it was a neat event. I tried to write down some of my cool moments. Um the women's winner of the 50 miler, Laura Cortez, I mean, she was running so fast. She was lapping me and she would cheer every single time we passed paths.
Wow.
Like, it was so cool, and I think she was cheering for a lot of the women out there, and I didn't know her, but, like, and you're passing people, like, quite a bit, like, just how the course was set up, and she's running so fast, cheering. That was, like, one of the coolest things. I went to this race totally self-supported. I just wanted to see if I could do it on my own. I just brought a backpack and, like, set it up, and there was another guy doing the same thing, and I met him, like, before for, like, a minute because I was like, "Is this an okay spot to, like, leave our stuff?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've done this before." So, I don't know, I never got his name. I don't even know what distance this guy was running, but, like, we would see each other a little bit on the course, and he'd give me a thumbs up or say, like, just kind of acknowledgement, and that was really nice. So you don't really feel alone even though I was there by myself. Um, so there's just a lot of general kindness on the course. Like, I thought it was it was really nice. A lot of people obviously knew each other because they were in that ultra community. They've done a lot of these events, and they would be, chatting and talking to each other, and I it was, catching some of their conversations was really neat, and I did like the loop course. I think that's something that people were like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you go do a mountain course? And one, I did that because I wanted to be able to stop. I didn't
Right.
wanna be in the mountains somewhere and, need to get, like, extracted. Like, I wanted to be able to, like, when I felt ready or if anything hurt or if I had any difficulties, I wanted to be able to just step off the course, which is exactly what I did. So I think that was the right move for me and for what I wanted out of this event, and then I did like the camaraderie because I don't think in a normal point-to-point race or a loop race, you wouldn't see the
Right.
leaders, and you wouldn't get that camaraderie, and so, yes, the course was more crowded, like, you are kinda weaving through people at times, excuse me, but I liked it. Like, I liked that setup, and I see why it is popular, and I imagine I didn't go through the night, but I imagine if you went through the night, it's lit in places or the loop and you know the footing and that is kind of nice.
Plus, you were self-supported and, last minute decision to
Yes.
sign up for the race. So if you were doing a mountain ultra, I assume you would want some sort of crew there. Did anyone have a crew or was it mostly people on their own?
Oh, everyone had a crew except for me and that one other guy. No, okay, this is like as we move into things I would have done different. I did think I was like I could do this. Like, yeah, I don't need a crew. I would suggest having a crew. I think this is actually a great one to have a crew. I I'm hesitant to ever do an ultra 100 miler. Well, now I don't know if I could do it, but like I I don't want to put people out like that. I think the idea of having people go into the woods for 8, 9, 10 hours where they don't have cell service and asking them to wait to, like, hand you some water is too much to ask of anyone I know. And so I do think there's some services now that you can hire people to, like, pace you or crew for you, and maybe that I would feel a little bit more comfortable with. But I've already asked too much of everyone in my life around my athletic endeavors at this point, and I just don't ever feel like I will be in that position. However, this one, you could literally set up a table, like, anywhere. Like, I asked when I got
Mm,
there, I was like, "Where can I put my backpack?" And they're like, "Anywhere along the course." So, you have, like, 2 miles to, like, set up. There are certain places where I think it makes more sense to set up. I wanted to be kinda close to a bathroom just, like, in case
mhm.
I mean, you're out there even for 50 miles, you're probably gonna have to go to the bathroom. And then, but people had, like, tables with, like, their whole spreads. Shelly, there was this one guy, and I'm sure I should know his name. You could tell I'm new to this, but, he's dressed as, like, a Joker, I think, and, like, a Joker suit, like, full-on suit, like, pants, tie, everything, Joker hat. And he I don't know if he was doing the 48-hour race or the 100-mile race, I'm not exactly sure, but he had a table set up with all his belt buckles that he has done. And this guy's obviously very famous, everyone knew him, but it was, like, so many belt buckles, like, I don't even know how that table could hold them all up. I should have taken pictures, I just, again, was not quite in that space of getting my phone out, but most people had a crew, and I think if you had a person there with you, they can just sit and be on their phone, and they get to see you quite a bit. They could leave, go take a nap, come back. So I actually think this is one that would be not that bad to crew as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to offer my services if you ever want to do this one next year, and then you can come hang out with me at the poker table as a payment afterwards in
Okay,
Las
that's
Vegas.
true. That actually isn't a bad trade-off if you have people who love Vegas, because I did not make it to the fun part of Vegas. I mean, I went to a different kind of fun part of Vegas, but like this isn't Henderson, it's outside, but it's just yeah, you're running around this park and you definitely could if you timed it right, like go straight from the race, get a room on the strip and then like yeah, go play some poker afterwards. I do owe you some games of poker because we didn't quite make it there on my birthday, but I'll keep that in mind. I will keep that in mind because as I think about the things that I could have done better, there's a long list.
Well, what about fueling? I mean, you said you had a backpack. I mean, did you bring anything in the backpack?
No. That would have been too practical. Okay, so when I read about this race, I was like, it's like there's an aid station and you pass it every 2 miles. And so I'm like, okay, fine. I'll just use stuff at the aid station. Those are famous last words. like, I had like a few gummy candies in my bag. I got like a Gatorade from Walgreens. And so like, I was like, I'll just use what's in the aid station. I would do things different. I didn't bring a single gel. I just didn't prep for this. And
Yeah.
so I given what I know now, I actually think gels would be appropriate. Like I was running a little faster than I expected. I think I was running, between 8 and 9 minute pace for a lot of it. And I had initially thought I would like stop and eat like a meal, but you don't really want to. And then a lot of the stuff that the aid station had, they do have an aid station. It just wasn't quite as robust as I expected. And it was a lot more like orange slices and watermelon, which was great. It just wasn't enough calories.
Hmm.
And that was definitely like a live and learn. They had like chicken salad sandwiches, which probably would have been great, but I don't think at 8 to 9 minute pace I can do a chicken salad sandwich. And so if I had been very like committed to making 100 miles no matter what, I maybe would have stopped and, taken a lunch break and had a chicken salad sandwich and had a meal. And I imagine if you're doing a 48-hour race, like, yes, you're going to do that, like have a whole meal. But I could have done a better job. I did finally figure out like where the Coke was, where the ginger ale was. And so that helped a lot. But I would encourage anyone who's doing an ultra to bring their own fuel.
Right.
Don't
Right.
just rely on the aid station. I wanted to see if it was possible, and maybe it's possible if you can handle a chicken salad sandwich while running.
Okay. But well, what about gear? What was the weather like? What did you decide to wear? Did you wear carbon plated shoes? What
Those are
went into
good
that decision?
questions. Those are good questions. So I didn't want to buy any new gear for this. I didn't have time. I haven't had time. I kind of I mean anyone who's been listening to this I've been like progressively blowing up my life I feel like since I've crossed that finish line in Kona. And so I just was like, "Oh, I don't have time to do that." I didn't want to spend any more money and that was a mistake. I do think that was a mistake. I think you do want the gear. And I think that if I were to ever do anything like this again, I probably would make a better plan with my gear. Especially if I had to go into the dark I would want a headlamp, like a good
Right.
headlamp, and I think the technology is good for that now. I had brought like a bike light, which is not a good idea to like just hold again. Part of it's are lit, but that was one of my reasons. I was like, I don't want to go into the dark. I'm not prepared for this. But so I did bring carbon plated shoes. I brought 2 pairs of shoes. I brought a regular pair of Hoka Mach 6s, which is what I run a lot of my training runs in, and I did bring a pair of Nike Alpha Flies, the same ones I ran in Disney. I was kinda trying to set myself up with, like, okay, get through the first 20 to 26 miles and then switch shoes. Just kind of use that first 20,
Hmm.
26 miles as a warm up. I don't think that was actually the right idea because when I put on those carbon shoes, I think I was at around mile, like, 22 to 25. Um, they felt terrible. They felt really bad, and I think it might have actually been better to start with them, start with more cushion, and if I were to do this again, I probably would. I was worried about going out too fast is what I was worried about, and so I wanted to kinda, like, keep those early miles as a warm up, or I would change it, like, mile 5, like
Was it a dirt trail, or I mean, what was
it
the
was
terrain?
mixed surfaces. It was mixed surfaces, so part of it was dirt, part of it was, uh concrete, part of it was asphalt, which
Hmm.
I liked that. Like, it was kind of a nice mix of surfaces. Like, there were some gentle ups and downs that kind of mixed it up just enough. It was a nice course. The shorter loop, the one that Ashley ran, I think is all paved surfaces, and I actually think I might have preferred that, only from, like, the turns. It hurt that course had fewer turns. This one had a couple that of, like, 180, like, this 180-degree turn as
Oh,
you finish the loop that, like, got very hard as we went. Like, it was fine early, but then it was, like, later I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't do this." And then some of the crossing over was a little bit hard when it got congested and you would almost have to, like, stop or walk. But I was just trying to keep things in perspective where I was like, "You're doing this for experience and, not get flustered or certain narrow parts of the course where you just had to, like, get through." And like I said, people were lapping me. I was by far not the fastest person on the course, and you kind of could hear them coming. But that's the gear. I ran without a watch, and I think that might have actually been a mistake. I I wanted to just, again, have no expectations, no record almost of me being there, and so I don't need this on Strava. I didn't need that, but I think early on, I wanted a more, like, I wanted that, like, marker of really passing certain miles. I think that I
yeah.
really would have liked that. Like, I thought I didn't need it, but I think as things got tough, I needed to, like, have that buzz of, like, "Okay, you've passed another mile. You've passed another mile." Like, you are making forward progress and not rely on, like, just the time of day clock on, like, how far I've gone. They did have a tracker board, but if I went to, like, go to the bathroom or go to the aid station, I would kinda miss it, and so I actually think this is one where a watch is a good idea. So,
Okay, well,
regret
taking
that.
notes. And
Oh,
Sherpa Shelly's already thinking about the light situation because what I wear in the morning is like a vest that's light up, but it also has a mini flashlight on the front that you can tilt up and down depending on where you want the
yes.
light to go. And I actually prefer that to a headlamp. So we can have lots of
Okay.
ideas if you ever do this again.
I do think that is something I just realized. I was like, I thought I'd be able to hold something because I actually run a lot of races holding, like, a bottle,
Uh-huh.
and I did end up holding a bottle for this. Even though it's only a 2-mile loop, just to get it refilled in the aid station, I just wanted to have it with me. But I was like, I don't know if I'll be with it enough to, like, hold it, like, for myself, and so I do think you need something more of, like, a fixed, like, on your body
Right.
versus, like, trying to hold it, because even though I'm someone who likes running with things in my hands, it's a lot longer. I don't usually go for 7-hour runs.
For sure. Another thing I'm curious about is, one of the things that impresses me so much about you and other people who do Ironmans is you're alone with your own thoughts while you're racing for 9 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours. Did you listen to anything? Did you have headphones? Because it's a little bit of a different experience for something like this.
Yeah, that is I thought, like, I went into this thinking I was just gonna get into this, like, zen mode of running laps, and I would just, like, tick off laps, and I maybe that happened from, like, mile 4 to mile 10. That was about it. Maybe mile 12, 13, through half marathon, but then, honestly, no, everything comes crashing in, like, all those thoughts, and I was saying I was never bored. I was never bored. I didn't start music until I think I was through the marathon, so I was through 26 miles that I started music, and I was just having a lot of I started having, like, pretty bad thoughts, like, around mile 16, which was a little early. Um, that was, like, very early, and I was like, "I just need Taylor Swift in my ears," and so I did run with I've never run this is, like, a new thing in the last week again. I did win some, like, Shocks, like, the open ear headphones at one of the Disney races, and so they have a long battery life, and so I brought those. I sh It would be nice to, like, have headphones a little bit better because I feel like I would just, like, hit them with my sunglasses and they'd turn off, and I was like, "Oh," and I did run with my phone because even though I left my backpack, even though everything was probably safe, I was there alone, and so I had my phone, my ID, and a credit card, and my hotel key card on me because I was just like, "This would be a big bummer if someone just even, like, moved my bag and I didn't know where it went," and I'm like, I gotta get myself home." So, I did
Just in your
run.
sports bra? Or where did
Yes.
you okay, I know that's your usual trick, and I didn't know if you'd gotten any sort of,
I think I would
waist belt.
A waist belt would have been better. I brought the waist belt that I had used at Disney for as part of my costume. I had brought that, and maybe I should have worn it. I just didn't want to like stop and put it on. And so if I had kept going longer, I probably would have considered that. I think it would have been a better way to carry things, because also I had some like gummy candy down there, and it like seeped down onto the shirt. And I was like, what is on me? And I was like, oh, it's my melted gum candy I should have been eating. But but I do run like that in training a lot, but I think that is something I could have done better. I think I don't know if I want like a full on pack, but I think a waist pack of some kind, even with the aid station every 2 miles, just being able to have that stuff on you. I do think it was nice once I had music. I've never done that in a race before. And it was kind of nice just to like have Taylor Swift there. And there were times like I know that her Life of a Showgirl album is about 42 minutes. And so I'd be like, okay, we're gonna get through 4 rounds of this album. like I could kind of tell time that way because I didn't have a watch. And the time it went by pretty fast. And but also you can talk to people. Like people are talking to each other, and you can eavesdrop. You can do all that. So even if you didn't want music, I think you'd be fine. But a lot of people do have music. A lot of people talked on the phone. You can run by people and they're on the phone with someone, which I didn't expect, but I think because we had cell service and you then have someone to talk to that doesn't have to be there in the race and doesn't have to be running the same pace as you. I actually called you during the race because I was like, what are we going to podcast about? Because I was having a little breakdown, and I'm like, can we just pretend this never happened? But
No,
you
I mean, we
coached me
needed to,
through
yeah.
it.
Well, it's only because I have a wonderful coach that I can, return the favor in some small way. But I mean, I think a lot of people listening are going to be in awe of someone who can run 50 miles at that pace, especially when it's a last minute decision with maybe less than ideal gear and fueling choices. So, I was
People
just
pay me
incredibly
for
impressed.
coaching. No,
Well, no, I think
I do these things though so that other people don't.
Well, right. I think, a lot of what you do is a recon mission for your own coaching as well. And so this is another, feather in your cap from that perspective as well, so that you can, help people with what you experienced, for their own ultra races, which I think is really cool.
Thank you for saying that. That is the nicest compliment you could give me, and that is I do think I learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I think people do ask me sometimes, like, "How would you do this on your own? How would you do, if you have a busy schedule, like, how can you put this together?" And I learned a lot. I did learn a lot because I flew Friday after work for a Saturday race. I had a Sunday flight, and, like, I don't think that was smart. Like, I think I would really tell people, "No, go a day earlier. Give yourself that time. Do this if you aren't able to take time off work, then it probably isn't the event for you." And so I tried it. I tried it. Can you
Right.
do an ultra with no days off work? I mean,
It's and
yes, you
it's very
probably
hard because
can, but it's not a good
well,
idea.
you didn't have any time to decompress from your work week,
Mhm.
work day. And then with the looming flight on Sunday, it does seem maybe less than ideal in a lot of ways, but I think it's really cool that you put yourself out there with all of these less than ideal, circumstances and ran 50 miles at an amazing pace. So, I'm very, very proud of you for doing it. And it would be easy just to turn around and fly home and not start, but I think that hopefully you got a lot out of it. From a training perspective, coaching perspective, and just, personal enjoyment perspective. But what do you think was different than you expected kind of going in? I know you didn't have a lot of time to think about it going in or get nervous, but was there anything that surprised you about it?
It was, like, very well run, and the community was better than I expected. I know some ultra runners, and I've coached some ultra runners, but again, the kindness of the community was better than I expected. The actual running, I know my body, and I was overly fatigued, for expecting that out of myself. I think, I was surprised by how much I hurt so early. And that surprised me compared to even Disney, which was a little more than a month ago. I did go into Dopey kind of as like, okay, this is like a big training block. And I ran a lot that week. I ran a lot leading into Dopey. And I was able to run a 3-hour marathon at Dopey on the fourth day and it felt fine. It felt fine. I felt way, way worse in the first 16 miles of this 50-mile race I did, 50-mile run than I did at Dopey on the 4th day, which that scared me a lot because I was just like, "Ooh, you should not feel this tired already. You didn't run the last 4 days." But I think that I had, like, life stuff has been a little bit hard, and so I went in too tired. And so that was a good lesson, and that I just, like, how I was maybe tapering off my running, but I wasn't tapering off, like, the other life things. I wasn't sleeping like I should have if I wanted my body to perform like that, and it was too much of an ask. And so I do think that, even me, as someone who has done a lot of endurance races all my whole life, at least my adult life, I needed that reminder that you have limits and you can only ask so much of your body. And I think you talked to me, or maybe I don't know if it was during the race or after, but it was, stress is stress. And I kind of, yeah, that was too much. It was too much. I'm not invincible. I can't work all these hours and still expect my body to perform like that. And to be honest, like, that's been one of my biggest fears lately, was just, like, the loss of my identity as an athlete, as I have retired from professional racing, and I've tried to kinda hang on to things, but while also doing more, and I don't know, there's probably a better balance, and I think right now things are really hard, but, hopefully they will get better as we move into the summer, and hopefully I'm not totally done, but there's a part of me that wonders, if if I am, but I don't think so. I mean, I still think I still really enjoy coaching. I still really enjoyed the community, and maybe I am better built for 5Ks and 10Ks in costume.
Well, I mean, I just wanna say that I think a lot of us can take, um, a lot from just you saying that because a lot of the people you coach have jobs that have, busy periods and less busy periods, and maybe considering whether a busy time at your job is the right time to take on a new endeavor or an A race or something. And the fact that you felt so different just between those two race weekends, um, with it couldn't be very different fitness, in my opinion. So it really is probably the outside factors. And that's something good for us to remind ourselves of, your athletes, I mean, that, just because you have one difficult race or it feels not great, that doesn't mean that when things calm down in the outside life that you can't have a better race on that same fitness.
Yes. No, and I know that the fitness is still there, and I do probably need to rest a little bit, and I have some rest coming up, whether I like it or not. So it was still my longest run ever. 50 miles is my longest run ever. I am proud of that. I am proud that I'm fit and healthy enough that I can even run 50 miles because, as I'm very aware, the last time I raced in Las Vegas was the T100 in 2024, and I came out of that race very hurt. And I did not think I would ever run again. Like, part of the reason I finished that race and I ran that race because I was like, "This is probably my last race." I had hurt my knee pretty bad, and my knee still hurts. And so we're, a year and a half later, my knee still hurts, and that's why I kinda grasp onto these things because I worry about that. But I'm okay. I got myself home. I held a good pace through what I ran. I held a good pace through 50 miles. I was never like totally destitute, totally walking. I just was like, okay, 50 is good. That was like that became the new goal, was like 50, and then it's like we're going to be done. And so I'm proud that I did that. I'm not hurt. Nothing went terribly wrong. I got myself home. I'm going to be able to work tomorrow, and I'll be headed to Ironman New Zealand in a week. And so to hopefully do some commentary there and coaching and take these lessons into that. And that was another piece of it. I kind of wanted to wear myself out a little bit physically before that flight and before that travel, but not so much that I couldn't do it. So I that was mission accomplished. I'm not hurt, and that was one reason I also wanted to give myself that out to stop at any time, even if I was like 2 miles in, or to not start, because I do have things on the horizon that I need to be physically able to do, and I think I am in that position. So, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you to go to New Zealand, and I know I am not alone in being excited for your Ironman broadcasting debut.
Yeah, stay tuned. Hopefully, it will be good. There will be one more episode before Ironman New Zealand. I think Jocelyn is joining me next week, and we'll be sure to preview
Great.
some of the athletes as I will be studying furiously over the next couple weeks, making sure I know everyone's swim strokes. So even if I'm not the one on camera, I will make sure the person on camera knows who everyone is, and everyone gets their accolades for having great races there. It's shaping up to be a great field. There was some fast racing in Wanaka this past week. Tamara Jewett taking the win with Rebecca Clark and Gabby Lumkis right behind. Super close finish, and I think all three of those women are racing Ironman New Zealand. I know that some on the men's side, Mike Phillips, who was second, and Frederick Funk, who was third, I think are also racing Ironman New Zealand. I think Jack Moody won that race. I'm not sure if he's doing the full Ironman, but there's a lot of crossovers. We're seeing the season kind of heat up, and that's going to be exciting. And this will be a fun time for me to be on the other side, still involved with the race, but not actively racing because I may maybe quenched that desire to race in my body. But I can still talk all day, so I'm ready for it.
That's great. Very exciting.
But Shelly, thank you again for filling in this week, for again taking my call mid race and helping me, reframe my goals and then letting me chat about it today. I really appreciate it. And you're basically a happy hour co-host at this point. So I'm also excited to track you at Publix this coming
Well,
weekend.
give you something to do on the airplane, probably.
Yes. Well, I think with the time change, I think you'll be done before I'm on the
Okay.
airplane, so it'll be
Okay.
good. I will wake up and I'll be like, "Yes!" And then I'll go on the airplane and then I'll just, like, hopefully sleep for a long time.
Wonderful. You deserve it after the 50-mile race for sure.
Yeah, but thanks, Shelly. I will talk to
Okay.
you soon.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.